Hi, this is Michael Joseph with the XRF Applications Group. Today we're going to go over Epsilon software drift/recalibration program. This tutorial will be covered in Epsilon 2.1b software, however previous versions of Epsilon software will operate similarly. What is drift, how does it happen, and how do we account for it? Lastly, we will show you how to apply the drift/recalibration program within the Epsilon 2.1b software. Drift is caused by hardware instability as a function of time or external pressure and temperature changes. The X-ray tube and detector degrade long term. Because of this drift, an application may not be within specification and therefore not valid after a certain period. Instead of calculating a new slope and intercept from new standard measurements, you can apply a drift/recalibration program to save time. The Epsilon 4, the Epsilon 3, and the Epsilon 1 use the gain measurement on the copper channel to correct for drift every 12 hours. This, however, is not always adequate for all materials, i.e. light elements. One or more stable monitor samples are measured and the relative change in concentration is calculated to day 0 concentrations. Let's launch the Epsilon 2.1b software and take a look at how the drift/recalibration program is applied. After launching Epsilon 2.1b software, go ahead and open the application you want to make the recalibration program for. Today I'm going to use the Roxy application. After launching the application window, go ahead and go to the upper right hand side of these icons. In the top right corner you're going to see an icon. It's called recalibration program window. Go ahead and click on it. Here we're going to start with a measurement factor, time factor. This is the application measurement time multiplied by whatever factor you specify here. This is going to improve the counting statistics, which will improve the precision of the measurement. Generally it's default to 2, but we recommend going to 4 since increasing by a factor of 4 will decrease the counting statistical error by half. Next, we need to consider for the recal samples something that's very stable, so something that's not a liquid or powder or something that's going to capture moisture and change the composition of the sample in that way. So if you can store whatever stable sample you have in a desiccator. Secondly, if you want to correct for both D and E, you will need at least 2 samples to do so, 2 or more samples. If you wish to just correct for E, which is slope, then you only utilize 1 sample here, okay? And everything, again, is based off of concentration in the Epsilon software. So today, after I did the application calibration, I ran the FLX S13 sample against the curve. That sample is a glass bead. So I'm going to go ahead and open it from the book. And I'm going to go down here from recent unknown routine samples that were measured. And I'm going to find FLX S13. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this green button to add it. And I'm done. So all I'm going to do today is a slope correction. I don't really want to correct for intercept, which is D. However, if you wanted to, again, you could add another one. You can manually add samples here. Let's just say if I wanted to add a test sample, you could add it like this. And then I would have to run this sample because I have no measurements. I would have to run it against the curve itself to get actual concentrations in here. Let's say I wanted to delete something. I can highlight it and hit the trash can button there. It will delete it. If I wanted to add something else, I could. It could be one of the standards you used or one of the samples that you ran against the curve itself. Just for simplicity, let's just go ahead and add another one just as an example. Let's go ahead and use NIST 2710. Another thing you want to be cautious for is in the application calibration itself, if you excluded points, they will show up here in whatever curve that you were looking at. So let's say, for example, if you excluded calcium, this measurement, this sample from the standards, if you included a standard in the recal samples here on this table, it would show an X, which means if there's an X here, exclude, it's not going to use this measurement to do calcium oxide correction, okay? And you can, alternatively, you can also go in here and say, well, you know what, look, this sample has no hafnium oxide, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I'm not going to use it. So you can go ahead and go through there and you can hit X and get rid of things that you don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I only want the 1 sample. I'm going to use everything there, and now that I have it in here, I'm going to go ahead and simply measure it. So I'm going to go to this measure the selected recalibration standard. Before I do so, let me give it a quick save. I also just for the video here, I'm going to switch this to 1. You would want to keep that at 2, 3, or 4. We recommend 4. I'm going to go ahead and measure this now, and it's in position 10. And this has close to 1,000-second runtime. Since the Roxy samples take quite a bit of time, there's quite a bit of elements here. So I will be back. Once the measurement has been completed, you'll be populated with an automatic recalibration succeeded for Roxy window here. And I can go ahead and I can look at my original E value, and now I can see the E value with a question mark, which means that that's the one that has been calculated. There's nothing really else to do here. You can go ahead and just do a comparison if you wish, and then go ahead and close the window. There's nothing to do. The recalibration has already been done. In the upper left hand side, you'll see date and time when it was last recalibrated, and if the recalibration status is complete, and if you can calculate the recalculation program. You'll also see buttons for reset recal. That's if you let's say you want to get new measurements for your curve. You can reset the measurement if you want to go ahead and measure the recal sample again, and you can calculate the calculation again. Let's say maybe you change something within the recal program in the table below, and then you can show the results as well of the last recalibration. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close it, and I'm going to go ahead and save this now. And in the future, when you want to make a recalibration measurements, you can go ahead and go to measure application, as you normally would for a normal routine measurement. So go ahead and open up Roxy, and instead of selecting a routine measurement, I'm going to go ahead and do recal standard. Now it's going to populate this. It's grayed out. It already knows that it's FLXS13. I'm going to go ahead and hit measure and hit I'll go ahead and select position 10, because that's where my FLXS13 glass sample is. Now if you have multiple samples here identified in the recal program, it will say multiple samples, and once you click measure, it will give you a table, and you will select the sample, and then you'll select the other one and put them in their proper locations, and then you go ahead and perform those measurements. Now how often should you run these samples? It really depends on the lab that you're in and the guidelines that you are using in the lab. Some labs are very rigorous. They have to run their check samples every batch, and some do it every day, twice a day. So that's really up to you. Otherwise, it's arbitrary if I just told you once a week. So go ahead up and set a check sample here, and go ahead and measure it. The check sample, then, if you wanted to go ahead and apply it within the application itself, you could go back to the application window, and we can set up a check sample min concentration and check sample max concentration. If it goes outside of there, you'll get a warning message about the check sample min, check sample max being compromised when you're running the check sample. If the check sample is out, it's a good time to then go ahead and run the recal sample. So that's about it for the recalibration program. If you have any questions, please call the 1-800 number and log in applications case. Thank you.